Kyle Andrews had always thought of himself as an entertainer, trapped inside an ordinary man's body. He worked a regular office job during the day, but at night and on weekends, he pointed his phone at his face and spoke to an audience of strangers on the internet. Live streaming gave him a thrill nothing else could. He could make people laugh. He could rant about his favorite movies. And he could feel like a star, even if only a dozen people tuned in. The problem was that Kyle never knew when to stop. He streamed from grocery stores, from coffee shops, even from family dinners, till his relatives begged him to put the phone down. Yet he still searched for new ways to keep things exciting. One morning, as he prepared to drive across town, an idea struck him. What if I live streamed while driving? He said to himself. A road trip but live. Talking with the chat while cruising. It'll be fun. He mounted his phone on the dashboard and hit the bright red button. The chat began to fill instantly. Regular viewers greeted him with excitement. Good morning, everyone, Kyle announced proudly. You are now riding shotgun with me. We are going to have music, stories, and maybe some drive-through food. At first it was harmless. Kyle played upbeat songs and sang off-key. He cracked jokes about traffic lights and narrated his journey as if he were hosting a travel show. The chat responded with enthusiasm. Viewers asked him to wave at pedestrians, to honk his horn at random, and to tell embarrassing stories from his past. Kyle laughed and followed along. But the longer the drive continued, the more distracted he became. Instead of keeping his eyes on the road, he leaned toward the screen to read comments. He laughed so hard at a joke from one viewer that he drifted slightly into the next lane. A car honked, but Kyle brushed it off and kept talking. Ash! Among his audience that morning was a man named Daniel. Daniel lived only a few blocks away from Kyle, though the two had never met in person. Daniel enjoyed the streams and often joined the chat to tease Kyle. That morning he typed, "Careful, man. You are going to crash into me one of these days." Kyle read it aloud and chuckled. Do not worry, Daniel. I do not even know where you live. You are safe. He had no idea how wrong he was. Half an hour later, traffic thickened near an intersection. Kyle's phone buzzed with a flood of comments, and he leaned closer to the screen. Someone asked him to shout their username. Someone else told a joke about a chicken crossing the road. Kyle laughed, glanced down, and began answering. He looked up too late. The car in front of him had slowed for a red light. Kyle slammed on the brakes, but momentum carried him forward. With a sickening crunch, his car collided with the one ahead. His phone jolted violently but remained streaming. The sound of metal meeting metal echoed across the broadcast. Ooh! Kyle's jaw dropped. Oh no, oh no, oh no, he muttered, fumbling with his seatbelt. The chat exploded with shocked messages. Some viewers typed frantically, "Are you okay?" Others spammed rows of laughing emojis. Kyle opened his door and stumbled out. The driver of the car he had hit stepped out as well, furious. "What were you doing?" the man demanded. "Were you not paying attention?" Kyle's face drained of color, recognized the man from his profile picture. It was Daniel, the very same Daniel who had joked minutes earlier about being hit. Daniel's eyes widened as he saw Kyle, then flicked to the phone still recording from the dashboard. "Wait a minute," Daniel said, pointing. "You were live streaming?" "I was watching you. I told you not to hit me, and you actually did it." So the absurdity of the situation sank in. Kyle's audience was still watching live, commenting furiously as if the accident were part of the show. Screenshots were already being captured. One viewer typed, "This is the best stream I have ever seen." Another wrote, "He actually crashed into Daniel." Traffic piled up around them. Drivers honked impatiently. Within minutes, police arrived. Daniel explained everything in detail, showing the officers the stream still running on his own phone. The evidence was undeniable. Kyle had been distracted by his audience. His viewers had watched the disaster unfold in real time. The officers issued citations. Kyle stood red-faced and silent as his phone was finally switched off. The last thing the audience saw was him holding his head in his hands while Daniel shook his head in disbelief. News spread quickly. Local stations ran headlines like "Man crashes into live stream viewer while streaming, an accident captured live on camera." Clips of the collision spread across social media, replayed thousands of times by people who had never even heard of Kyle before. Overnight, he became infamous. Kyle's small corner of the internet transformed. His channel, once a quiet stream of casual chatter, was flooded with new viewers. Some mocked him, some laughed at his misfortune, and some begged him to tell the story again. He was suddenly famous, but not for the reasons he wanted. For weeks afterward, people recognized him in public. At the grocery store, a cashier whispered, "That is the crash guy." At the coffee shop, strangers asked if he was planning to stream his next accident. Even Daniel, though annoyed about the damage to his car, admitted that it was the strangest collision he would ever experience. Kyle eventually returned to streaming, but he did it differently. No more driving broadcasts, no more distractions behind the wheel. Instead, he sat safely at his desk and repeated the lesson he had learned. "Friends," he told his viewers, "if you're going to go live, never do it while driving. Trust me, the laughs are not worth the crash." And though the memory made him cringe, he knew his most infamous stream would live on forever. Replayed again and again as the day one man literally crashed into his own audience.